In Seattle, Dick Crippen along with Jim Hendrick and Steve Montgomery as we look at the boats getting ready for Heat 2B.
And just like the Smokin show before him, the Budweiser has now drawn lane number 6. He's going to have to go from the far outside.
We look at the Miss Budweiser as she takes the lead right off the green flag. Going into the turn now, as you can see, the Miss Budweiser on the far outside has got the speed necessary to hold off the rest of the field, at least through that turn and onto the back straightaway.
Dick, we've had a collision in that busy first turn between Jerry Hopp and the Miss Cascade Holmes and Ken Dryden, the Miss E-Lam Plus. A flare has been shot off, and you can see now the Cascade Holmes, lots of smoke off the rear end of that turbine, and the boats are starting to slow down. Wait a minute, we're getting something from the URC radio. They're saying, disregard, disregard, go, go, go. This race has not been stopped.
The Miss Budweiser started to get off it, as did Mark Evans in the Miss Rock. Mark Evans had a little bit of trouble accelerating again and getting back up on there. Meanwhile, it looks like DeWalt Tools has moved up into second place. But, Jim, they did fire a red flare.
Well, the flare may have been fired prematurely, but if there is a flare fired by our rules, the heat is stopped now. Not later, now, but they're continuing to run. There's going to be some controversy on this one, I'm telling you.
Well, for one thing, we know Mark Evans was riding up in second place to the Miss Budweiser when the red flare went up and they stopped the race, but then the URC radio, which is the official communications between the race teams and the Unlimited Racing Commission, said go, go, go. Well, the Miss Budweiser accelerated without much problem. Mark Evans lost the position. DeWalt's Tools came up and took second, so the whole field is in a bit of disarray at this point, and I think they're going to have to go back in and sort this out.
One thing that's good, though, the drivers that collided are okay. They have a strobe light on these boats, and if they don't turn the strobe light on, then the rescue boats go right to them. But the strobe light flashing says, hey, we're okay, just continue to race, we're fine.
Chip Hanauer coming in with the checkered flag flying, so we're going to assume at this point, of course, he is the winner of the race. Second place will go to DeWalt Tools, and that is assuming everything stands as is. Mark Evans will take third place in the KISW Miss Rock. There you see Jerry Hopp. He's okay. He is out of his boat. This was one of the boats that was in the collision. Now, Chip Hanauer is going to come back in and find out just exactly what happened out on that course. He's already asking questions. He's not even out of the boat.
I wouldn't want to be the driver's rep on this one, Dick. And the driver's representative is the buffer between an irate driver, a protest, and the commission brass.
Who? Oh, it's a red flag.
They flared on this corner.
They put a flag
pulled it down.
They did. But they can't put a flag up. I know, and take it down. I agree, but they did.
Well, obviously, there's going to be a lot of discussion in the pits right now over what happened during that last race. I don't know how things are going to stand. We'll let it sort out a little bit. Meanwhile, the Miss E-Lam is being pulled in. You can see the damage to the tail on that boat. The other boat involved was Jerry Hopp's. Let's go down and find out what happened.
Jerry, we see all those rooster tails in the turn, and suddenly you and Ken are spinning around, and you got some damage on the front. What happened?
Well, I went into that turn and took a couple of bounces, got into some spray. I was trying to get around a corner, and I didn't know what happened. The windshield got covered with a blast of water, and next thing I knew, I was going around in a circle. I didn't know there was any damage to the boat until I actually got out, and a patrol boat guy asked me if I was sinking. I didn't know why, so something happened out there. I got pushed around in a circle.
There you can see the damage that was caused by the other boats or the water or what have you. They're going to have to fix that. Meanwhile, the officials are in deep discussion. Let's go down to one of the guys on the inside, Scott Pierce.
Scotty, having won here in 91, you know these waters. This has to be rougher than anything you've seen.
It's the roughest we've had this year, Jim, by far, and it's, you know, it's a pretty dangerous situation right now.
Wind's coming down that front chute, reacts to the boat violently.
Yeah, in the first heat, we were way, way, way loose. The boat, every time I stand on throttle, stand on tail, we put the air brakes back on and the boat laid down, but unfortunately it slows it down when we do that. You know, everyone's going to have to be real careful. Everyone's riding real high, and discretion's the better part of valor today, I think.
Let's go to Steve Montgomery, who's got an update.
Dick, we have just received a word down here in the pits. The heat we just saw is going to be rerun. And one guy who's glad to hear that is Mark Evans. Didn't get such a fair shake.
No, really did in the KSW Rock, but was really running, and we were really wanting to go after the Budweiser. And when I got radioed in that there was a red flare, it always scares me, you know, when my pal's getting hurt or something. But there was an accident, and so I got right off the throttle along with the Budweiser. He slowed right down, too. So just a few seconds after that, they said get back on it. Well, I'd lost a position by then, so it was an unfair deal, and I'm happy we get to rerun it.
Well, he's happy, but I can tell you what, Chip Hanauer is not happy. He says, hey, I had to come out of the 6th spot to go up and win that race. Now you're putting me back into 6th to go again. Here's the owner of the Miss E-Lam looking at the damage. They've withdrawn that boat. We'll be back in a moment. Was put back into 3rd place, and DeWalt's Tools actually took 2nd, and now you can see that as a battle that is shaped up on the course. First is the Miss Budweiser, now it is the Miss Rock battling DeWalt's Tools on the outside to try to catch 2nd place. Let's see how that one shapes up as we go through the rest of the heat.
All right, as we look at our Zodiac lap time for lap number 1 for the Miss Budweiser at 1:38.
There's Scott Pierce going dead in the water. He's had engine problems on that boat, and he is now going down in the water. He'll try to get it restarted. There you see 1, 2, 3. As it stands, it is Miss Budweiser in 1st place. Miss Rock has moved up into 2nd place. 3rd place is DeWalt's Tools. There's Mark Evans in the Miss Rock. He's got to feel a little bit better now. He has gotten himself a 2nd place, which is where he was when that controversial flare went off in the 1st running of this heat.
What a miserable day for racing as they come down to complete lap number 2, and the time for the Budweiser, 1:45. So he's picked it up about 7 miles an hour on lap 2.
Well, actually, the Miss Rock, who's now gone to the inside lane, has challenged the Miss Budweiser in other races. So I don't think Chip Hanauer wants to fool around at all. I think he wants to make sure he gets 1st place. He did it before. He just wants to say, hey, it was no fluke. We'll do it again if we have to.
Right now, we can barely see the floating bridge down in corners number 3 and 4 of this course here on Lake Washington. And if it gets any worse, I don't know. I don't know. The checkered flag is out. Looks like Chip is going to get his wish. He's going to have to do it all over again, and he's on his way to winning Heat 2B from the 6th outside lane.
And as you can see there, Scotty Pierce got restarted again. There's the checkered flag for the Miss Budweiser. The suspenders kind of flopping off to the side there, whatever they are. 2nd place is going to go to Mark Evans.
And 3rd place overall, as you look at the Fruit of the Loom scoreboard, is DeWalt Tools, followed by the Cascade Homes, and Scott Pierce did restart in the Bellevue Volkswagen. Let's go to the docks.
Well, at least this time they're going to give you the 400 points. Maybe it should be 800, huh?
Yeah, I feel pretty bitter. Pretty bitter. You know, they made a mistake and said, so for them to get themselves out of the trouble, instead of accepting the mistake and going on, they made me go out and risk it, everything again, my equipment, myself, drive hard from lane 6. And I'm pretty bitter. I'm pretty upset. I don't think it was fair.
But we got the rest of the day to deal with, so we'll go on from here.
Yep, it's over.
Well, now we'll see if Bernie Little, who's trailing Chip Hanauer off the dock, can actually get his 100th career win later today. We'll be back in a moment. The weather for, well, you get the idea, don't you? Seafair in Seattle. Lake Washington is shrouded in fog at the moment. The unlimited hydroplanes racing for the Texaco Cup. Fog or not, the boats are going out for Heat 3A. Dick Crippen along with Jim Hendrick and Steve Montgomery as we look at the Smokin' Joes taking to the course. Now, you know, when you come down to an unlimited hydroplane race, you look in the pit area, you see all these huge semi-tractor trailer trucks. Chip Hanauer took us for a tour of the trucks. And that's what today's Eagle Snacks Performance Corner is all about. Chip?
Behind every unlimited hydroplane team, or should I say in front of every unlimited hydroplane team, is literally a shop on wheels, a truck that serves as a shop, a home, an apartment, basically where we live while we're on the road for 10 weeks at a time. We here at the Budweiser team are very lucky because we have a pair of trucks supplied by Mack Trucks that we think are some of the best in the business. Come on in, I'll show you. Here inside the trucks are everything we need to keep the boat going. We have spare engines that all have a place of their own. We have bits and pieces, parts, nuts and bolts, washers, tools, electronic equipment, radios, everything we need to keep the Miss Budweiser going heat after heat, month after month, all summer long. Here in the technical center is where the data that's accumulated in the boat by computers is analyzed, looked at, and gives us the information to make the changes we need for the next run to keep the Miss Budweiser out in front. Here in the other truck, we carry mostly materials we use to fix the boat if it's damaged. We have spare wings, materials, fiberglass, aluminum, even uniforms for the crew and myself. And this is my area. This is an area where I can just kind of be quiet, conduct business, interviews, basically get mentally prepared to do my job out on the race course. In fact, I've got to go do that right now.
He certainly does, because Heat 3A has a very special feature. The two fastest qualifiers are head-to-head for the first time, Jim.
Smokin' Joe's is in lane 1 with Mark Tate. He has a 339-point high point lead over the Miss Budweiser. Chip Hanover is in the second slot. It's Miss Rock with Mark Evans, Nate Brown in the Pizza Time Excite Nautilus batteries, Ken MUSCATEL in computers and applications. Appian Renegade is driven by Tom Hindley.
In the lead, it is Smokin' Joe's, driven by Mark Tate. On the outside is the Miss Budweiser, Chip Hanover. But Mark Tate has the lead, and for the first time today, these two boats, this Miss Budweiser and Smokin' Joe's, have been matched side by side. Coming through the fog, one of the problems that some of the drivers are having is not the fog outside as much as the fog inside the cockpits. So we have to be very attuned to the fact that some of the drivers may have a sight problem.
It has rained all day long here in Seattle, sometimes heavier than others, but nonetheless, raindrops keep falling on these boats constantly.
Now, as you look down from the helicopter in the center, you see Miss Budweiser now over in lane number 1. And it looks like he's going through the rooster. Oh, does he even see Mark Evans? He just barely missed Mark Evans, who was on the outside in lane number 4. Budweiser is now crossed to the outside and is lane number 2 on the outside of Smokin' Joe's.
Zodiac lap speed for the Smokin' Joe's 142 mile an hour.
Boy, they are really battling out here. Rough water, bad conditions for seeing each other, and the battle goes on. Miss Budweiser tried to get by, but was unable to change lanes effectively to pick up speed on the Smokin' Joe's, so Chip Hanover is settling back in second place. The lead boat, Smokin' Joe's, Mark Tate. Now remember, last week in Pasco, Mark beat the Miss Budweiser every time when they went head-to-head on the water. And here he does it again today. The checkered flag out for him. Second place goes to this boat, the Miss Budweiser, Chip Hanover. And here's your Fruit of the Loom scoreboard.
Smokin' Joe's, followed by Miss Budweiser, Miss Rock, the Pizza Time Excite, computers and applications. And
Mark, when the referee hollered go, it looked like Chip didn't. Did you see him fading in your mirrors?
Yeah, it was a little, you know, we both seemed to get on it at the same time, but then I just seemed to pull him real good going to the first turn. I really don't know what happened to him.
You're one victory away now from the big one, and that'd be the first one for the boss here. Be nice to get it even in this rain, huh?
Well, it would be a nice win, and, you know, we'll take what comes to us, and, you know, we're here to win a boat race, but yet we got to stay focused on our championship and not make any mistakes there in the final and lose valuable points.
And kind of interesting, Mark Tate, one of the few drivers not from Seattle today. We'll be back with more racing on Lake Washington. A little drizzle still falling in Seattle, but the fog has lifted, and Fred Leland, owner of the Pico American Dream, can look out and see his boat as it comes around to start Heat 3B.
And it's in lane number 1, and right next to him is DeWalt Tools lane 2, the T Plus in lane 3, Cascade Homes in 4, Mill Bay Casinos in 5, and on the outside, the Bellevue Volkswagen.
So the boats coming down take the green flag. They go into turn number 1. Pico's American Dream is your lead boat. Gets a good ride right against the buoy line. The tighter they can make it, the better they like it. They hold their speed, and here comes T+. Stephen David out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, has moved up on the outside and has taken the lead. DeWalt Tools back in third place.
As we look at the fog that's starting to lift, we see the boats are really running very, very roughly. Look how far out that the T+ had to go to keep pace with the inside boat on the right, which is Pico's American Dream. They are getting some real rough water here.
Pico's American Dream is holding very tight on that buoy line, trying to keep that course to a minimum. He wants the least amount of distance he possibly has to run. Meanwhile, the tail section on the T+ has loosened up. It has not quite flown off the end of the boat yet, but there are struts flying, and we expect that that will not make it through the entire race. Usually they start breaking apart because of the water pressure.
A lot of times you're right, it is the water. They're not hitting any other boat, they're just going in there. The waves are slapping so hard on these tails that they are knocking them loose from their mounts.
We're going to watch very closely to see if indeed the tail stays on the T+. Meanwhile, a little bit of rough water for Pico's American Dream, but still again, Dave Vilwalk holding very tight. The battle for third has DeWalt, the yellow boat. On the outside of him, there you see Scott Pierce in the Chaplin's Bellevue Volkswagen boat, and here's your leader, still flying high, keeping everything under control, though. I think he's going to count it a very good ride. As a matter of fact, it'll be excellent if he wins it. I know he'll race separated among the top. There you see the battle for third, and as it stands right now, the boat from Madison, Indiana, DeWalt's Tools, has taken third place, dropping Scott Pierce back to fourth. There's the tail on the T+. They are still holding second place in position, and the tail is still holding on. The tail in unlimited hydroplane racing is to keep the back end of the boat up. In car racing, and keeps the back end of the car down. There's your winner coming across for the checkered flag, and the tail has gone off the horizontal stabilizer from the T+. The race is over. It matters little. He takes second place. This is your winner, Pico's American Dream. Steve David wasting no time. He's going to get that boat back in there. He's qualified for the final. He wants to look at the championship heat.
And the Fiddle-Loom scoreboard shows Pico's wins, T+ engine treatment second, DeWalt Tools third, and the rest of the fleet.
Now we turn our attention to the unlimited lights. Look at lane number 6. Howie Labrie driving Hey Baby comes over and smacks into Brian Reynolds in the Flying Hawaiian. Look in the replay here. This is pretty amazing. They hit together. You can already see the damage to the Flying Hawaiian. Brian Reynolds, I don't know how he did it. He went on to win the race, but look at that boat. Here's the way the results are in the competition Cam's Unlimited Lights Series. Good competition. They're going around with the Unlimiteds all around the country, and they are doing great. Here's another guy who's doing great. The Pico American Dream driver, Dave Vilwalk, as they get their boat ready for the championship heat in the Texaco Cup here in Seattle, Washington. Some of the other teams working on skid fins and making sure everything's intact and ready to go for the final heat. And that will be coming up next as we continue with ESPN Speed World in just a moment.